The rescue team quickly reached Lily and Echo. They carefully checked for signs of life, and though Lily was cold and pale, her chest rose with each shallow breath. Her parents arrived moments later, her mother cradling Lily's small body as though she had been reunited with a lost part of herself. But Echo remained still, his body cold, his fur stiff from the freezing temperatures. They tried to revive him, but it was too late. Echo, the loyal protector, had given everything for the girl he loved. Lily was rushed to the hospital, where doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize her. Her mother never left her side, holding her hand as the monitors beeped softly in the background. It took hours for Lily to wake, and when she did, her eyes were blurry and confused. "Mom?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. Helen's eyes filled with tears. "I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe now." Lily looked around, her heart racing. "Echo. Where is Echo? Is he with me?" Helen's heart broke. She gently stroked Lily's hair and tried to keep her voice steady. "Echo saved you, Lily. He kept you warm. But Echo didn't make it." Lily's face contorted in confusion and disbelief. "No, he has to be here. I was so cold, but he was there. He kept me safe." Tears streamed down her cheeks, but the exhaustion of her ordeal kept her from truly comprehending the loss at first. She hadn't realized that Echo, the dog who had never left her side, had given his life to save hers. Her heart was still beating because of him. Days passed before Lily could return home. The house seemed empty without Echo. The absence of his warm, familiar presence a constant ache in her chest. Her parents tried to comfort her, but the grief was overwhelming. Lily would sit by the window, looking out at the snow-covered yard, wishing for one more moment with her faithful friend. Her father, John, planted a tree in the backyard in Echo's memory, a small, quiet tribute to the dog who had been a hero. But no matter how much they tried to honor Echo's memory, nothing could fill the void. Lily couldn't understand why the dog she had loved her whole life was gone, while she was still here. She wasn't sure if she could ever forgive herself for leaving the safety of her home, for wandering into the woods, for putting Echo in a position where he had to save her at the cost of his own life. The months that followed were a blur for Lily. She missed school for a while, overwhelmed by grief. But eventually, her parents encouraged her to return, to try to rebuild some sense of normalcy. Yet every day, she found herself thinking of Echo, the way he would rest his head on her lap after a long day, or nudge her hand with his nose when she cried. It was during these moments that Lily realized how much she had taken him for granted. He had always been there, a quiet, comforting presence in the background. And now, he was gone. But as painful as the loss was, Lily also realized something else. Something she hadn't fully understood before. Echo hadn't just been a dog. He had been her protector, her guardian, her friend. And though he was no longer physically by her side, his love for her lived on in her heart. She took comfort in the memories of their time together, the way he had stayed by her side through everything. The hospital visits, the treatments, the moments of joy and sorrow. He had given everything for her, and that was something she would never forget. Years passed. Lily grew up. She eventually became a young woman, still haunted by the memory of that cold winter night and the selfless act of love that had saved her life. She kept the photo of Echo on her nightstand, a constant reminder of the dog who had been her protector, her hero. And though the pain of losing him never fully went away, Lily found peace knowing that Echo had been there when she needed him most. He had kept her alive, and for that, she would be forever grateful. One summer, when Lily was in her late teens, she returned to the old house in Maplewood, now a young woman with the world ahead of her. Her parents had moved away, but the memories of the house, and of Echo, still lingered. She walked through the backyard, now full of flowers and new life. The tree her father had planted in Echo's honor had grown tall, its branches reaching up toward the sky. She stood there for a long time, remembering the dog who had saved her life. And in that quiet moment, as the wind rustled through the leaves, Lily smiled through her tears. She could almost hear Echo's bark, as if he were still with her. The snow had started falling quietly that afternoon, dusting the rooftops of Maplewood like powdered sugar. The streets were hushed, blanketed in white, as if the town itself had taken a deep breath and paused. Inside the Johnsons' small wooden house at the edge of town, the fire crackled and soft music played from an old radio. Everything felt peaceful, deceptively so. Echo, the family's golden retriever, lay curled by the fireplace. His fur, once bright and golden, had turned pale with age, like the fading sun on a winter's day. He was 13 now, old for a dog his size, and every step had become slower, more careful. But when Lily walked into the room, his ears perked up, and his tail thumped weakly against the floor. Lily was 10, small for her age, with long brown hair always tied back in a ribbon. She had been born with a weak heart and had spent much of her life in and out of hospitals. But Echo had been with her from the beginning. When she was an infant, he lay beside her crib. When she learned to walk, he walked with her, steadying her with gentle nudges. And when she cried through the pain of her condition, he lay his head on her lap and let her hold him like a lifeline. That afternoon, as the snow deepened, Lily grew restless. Her parents were upstairs folding laundry. She knew she wasn't supposed to go outside alone, especially not in the cold. It wasn't safe for her heart. But something pulled her, like a whisper through the window. She wanted to see the snow-covered trees in the backwoods, the ones that looked like sugar sculptures. She bundled up in her coat and boots, quietly opened the back door, and slipped out. Echo lifted his head, watching her disappear beyond the porch. He whined softly but didn't move. Maybe she'd come back quickly. She always did. But minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Upstairs, Lily's mother, Helen, called out, "Lily, are you drawing in the kitchen?" No answer. "Lily?" Silence. Then Echo stood up. His joints ached as he moved, but something had shifted, a tension in the air. His girl was gone. He padded toward the door, sniffed once at the ground, then looked back at the empty room. And then he pushed through the dog flap and vanished into the snow. Outside, the wind had picked up. The gentle fall had turned into sharp flakes, swirling through the woods. Lily had wandered far, farther than she meant to. Her breath came short now, her chest tight. She paused by a frozen stream, blinking against the wind. She hadn't realized how cold it was. Her legs trembled. Her heart fluttered wildly in her chest, then thudded hard and skipped. She dropped to her knees. "I'm okay," she whispered to no one. "I just need to rest." But the snow was thick, and she couldn't rise again. Her small form collapsed onto the frozen ground. The forest swallowed her in silence. Echo's nose guided him. His eyes were dim, but his instincts were as sharp as ever. He followed her scent, weaving through the trees, ignoring the biting cold in his old bones. The snow was up to his chest now. Each step was a battle. Then he found her. A small bundle in the snow, barely moving. He barked, loud and urgent, but no one was near enough to hear. So he did what he always had, protected her. Echo circled Lily, then laid himself down across her body, his weight a living blanket. He pressed himself against her, shielding her from the wind, from the cold, from the night creeping in. He didn't sleep. He didn't move. He just breathed for her, warming her as best he could. Hours passed. By the time search teams, alerted by Lily's frantic parents, reached the woods, the wind had died. A faint trail of paw prints led rescuers through the drifts. and to a sight none of them would ever forget. A girl, barely conscious, lay beneath a dog. Echo didn't move when they called his name. He had done his job. He had kept her heart beating, but his had stopped.